Michael Saylor said something very interesting, which we're going to talk about in a moment. The fact is, something is happening in the background right now. Something is going on. A few months ago, we heard that a big company might want to get into Bitcoin. Michael Saylor talked to people from Amazon and Microsoft, but they turned him down. But I believe they're already secretly buying Bitcoin in the background. People in the crypto scene want a big player like Amazon to officially announce or declare it, but I think the big companies won't let only the small ones profit from the Bitcoin boom. They're definitely already secretly buying Bitcoin in the background too. And the state television in Germany is reporting on a strange matter to warn people against investing in Bitcoin. More on that later. Big companies have probably had Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies for years already, or are buying Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, but they keep it secret through shell companies and firms in other countries you may never have heard of. Michael Saylor has tried, and we know this, to persuade huge companies like Amazon and Microsoft to invest in Bitcoin, but their bosses said no. After that, he was at a conference where he talked to hundreds of other companies about Bitcoin.
Bitcoin is the one universally acknowledged commodity. If we let banks in the United States use Bitcoin and custody it and sell it and buy it and loan against it, if the United States government begins to hold it in a strategic reserve, the beneficiary will be America.
If you could talk to President Trump and say, here's the one thing I would tell you to do to ensure that America leads the way in the crypto space, what would you tell him?
I would say he's already done the first thing, which is to highlight Bitcoin as a store of value, as digital gold, and to put the United States support behind a strategic Bitcoin reserve. The second thing is to support the creation and enactment of a legitimate legal framework for issuers in the United States to issue digital tokens, digital securities, and digital currency. Because if American companies can create those digital assets, we will become the bankers to the world.
What does the future look like to you with Bitcoin, with cryptocurrency in general? Where do you see it 5, 10, or even 100 years from now?
I think big tech is going to embrace Bitcoin. They're going to let you hold your Bitcoin on your iPhone, on your Android phone. It will find its way into Microsoft software, Amazon software, Google, Apple software. I think that banks are going to embrace Bitcoin. So your bank is going to give you a loan against your Bitcoin. It'll buy Bitcoin for you. Insurance companies will start to support Bitcoin. I think families will increasingly begin to see it as their savings account. The yoga studio, the restaurant, the hotel chain, they'll be able to raise capital in order to improve their business and to innovate. And I think that sound money will spread through South America, Africa, and Asia. It'll set trends with China. So I think the future is American values, American technology, not just making America great, but also spreading economic prosperity to the entire world.
Well, Michael Saylor, I want to say thank you. Thanks for breaking it down for us, making it more accessible, I think, for the average person to understand and feel comfortable with, because it really does feel like this is the future. This is where we're headed. And thanks for joining us for a little while.
Thank you for the opportunity.
And now, every day, new companies are saying that they're buying Bitcoin and they're absolutely thrilled about it. They're saying things like, Bitcoin is great and it's the future. We love it. Still, the price of Bitcoin isn't rising as much as you might think or as we would hope. And I'm not going to explain to you why right now. We've already talked about that several times in other videos. In the past, it was always just one company after another saying they were investing in Bitcoin, but now it's 4 or 5 per day. And don't forget that the other companies that previously announced they would buy Bitcoin are still doing so, and they're doing it constantly. They're continually investing in Bitcoin, and it's gaining more and more momentum. And remember, if you invested in Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, make sure to store your Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies securely offline. If you're interested in that, you'll find a link in the description below the video. And if you want to achieve financial independence through Bitcoin and crypto, you'll also find the link for that in the description below the video. That brings us to the question of how these companies manage to constantly buy so much Bitcoin. I mean, we're talking about Bitcoin worth, for example, £9 billion, as was recently reported. By the way, this news comes from the UK because apparently at least 9 British companies announced last week that they want to invest in Bitcoin. For example, there was an AI service provider there that plans to raise £100 million to invest in Bitcoin. That's about $130 million US. And remember, the stock price of this company shot up after they announced that they would be investing in Bitcoin, or rather that they want to invest in Bitcoin. And I really wonder which investors are out there just waiting for news like this so they can buy the stocks, buy these companies. But hey, apparently there's a market out there for everything. In the past, companies might have announced plans to buy $1 or $2 million worth of Bitcoin, but that's history now. These days, we're talking about 30 million, 40 million, 124 million, or even $5.4 billion. And that's a bit crazy, don't you think? I think that might also have something to do with Michael Saylor, whose words can be pretty persuasive in boardrooms. Listen to what he has to say about his strategy and MicroStrategy, and what basically makes him and MicroStrategy successful.
Our business strategy is to be 100% Bitcoin. And so we will always buy Bitcoin. Bitcoin is our hurdle rate. And there are a couple of reasons for that, really, almost three. One, we want to be neutral because I want to help hundreds of companies and I can't afford to play favorites and I don't have enough time to be invested in just three of them. The second is that all of our credit instruments we sell are all based on homogeneous credit risk. You're holding Bitcoin. Are there any complications? Number, if I were to invest in 22 things, then there would be 25 pages of disclosures for each one, and there'd be 250 pages of considerations. And I don't want to complicate the decision my investors have to make. I want to be hyper-transparent. If even one of them were to behave differently than Bitcoin, whether better or worse, the company would become opaque. And once it becomes opaque, it's hard for people to understand and trust us. See, part of our value proposition is that you know exactly what we're going to do. If you disagree with it, you can short us with 20 times leverage. And if you agree with it, you can go long with 20 times leverage. And you could place $1 billion bet that's valid for 4 weeks. The last thing you want is for me to say, oh, we're investing in a new business and we're very excited. And then it messes up that guy's $1 billion bet and that other guy's $1 billion bet. And now they're like, I can't trust the company. I don't know what they're going to do. I'm just going to sell. I don't want to play the game. So our job is to be a neutral Switzerland when it comes to the ecosystem and make everyone successful, but also to be laser focused in our business model, which is we're going to create equity, which will be leveraged Bitcoin. We're going to try to outperform Bitcoin using leverage, and we're going to create credit instruments that strip out volatility, risk, and performance from Bitcoin. And we're going to keep doing it the same way. And I think all these other businesses are great opportunities for private equity investors and venture capital investors. They have other pools of capital that are not invested in Bitcoin. The way you could think of it is my $65 billion of Bitcoin is pledged to support the equity, to support the bonds, and to support the preferred stocks. And I need to make sure that that pledge remains inviolate. And I need people to say that's what they're going to do for the next decade. And if I believe that, then I will buy something and hold it for a decade or 20 years or 30 years. We want people to know what we stand for. And that's where we stand for Bitcoin forever.
I don't get how we're seeing this huge rush of companies all announcing at exactly the same time that they're joining in. Anyway, all of this is starting to get really crazy for me. I've been in this market for so long and I've never seen this much attention for it. And now, every day, companies are announcing sometimes, even in groups at the same time, we want $80 million, for example. We want 100 million, we want 2.2 billion, and so on, to invest in Bitcoin. But regular retail investors still haven't come back to the market en masse. And I think that's because prices haven't completely gone through the roof yet, or are just about to. They usually take longer to get back in, and whatever these people like Michael Saylor, for example, are doing, it's brilliant and it's working. They've found a way to quietly accumulate parts of the scarcest, rarest, and most limited digital asset on this planet. And I mean, you don't hear anything about this in your local news or even really in the international news. When companies in certain countries buy Bitcoin, it's just seen as some crypto thing. And while we keep hearing people from BlackRock and Fidelity say that the US dollar is crashing and Bitcoin is taking over, it all feels like a parallel universe right now. And on top of that, the state television in Germany has basically warned against Bitcoin. Listen to what they said.
Analysts interpret Bhutan's decision to become economically robust with Bitcoin in a region caught between China's surveillance capitalism and India's digitalization drive as a move towards geopolitical sovereignty. But isn't there also a danger in this for the small kingdom? Volker Hurt from the ARD Financial editorial team.
Apart from the question of how sensible it is, especially from an ecological perspective, to convert surplus energy into Bitcoin, it can of course also be pretty clever. However, Bhutan is taking a big risk because there are quite a few financial experts who believe that Bitcoin, or even digital currencies in general, could one day disappear as quickly as they appeared. And on the other hand, there really isn't a single investment advisor or asset manager who would recommend putting 40% of your assets into Bitcoin.
Meanwhile, Bhutan is expanding its electricity resources also for the crypto farm. Every now and then, people still calculate in the actual currency. €1 equals 100 Nugultrum.
The Punat Sangchu project is expected to significantly boost Bhutan's revenues and bring in 20 billion Ngultrum annually. After 4 units, 2 more are scheduled to go online by the end of July 25. This proves the resilience and sense of community of all those involved. Tashidelik, good luck. Tashidelik.
Bhutan's Bitcoin boom remains unbroken so far. Stephanie Market for the New Delhi studio.
One thing is certain, what we're seeing right now is dollar weakness. And you can feel it. Cryptocurrency companies want to break away from the US dollar and are therefore buying Bitcoin. BlackRock, the New York Stock Exchange, and Nasdaq all say that Bitcoin is the future. But somehow, there's radio silence. Don't you also find that a bit strange? I know, it's totally crazy what's happening right now, and I can't be the only one who feels this way. Recently, 9 companies announced that they would buy huge amounts of Bitcoin, and at some point, the amount of Bitcoin on the exchanges will simply be gone, and that's happening faster than many people can imagine. And we're seeing more and more companies buying Bitcoin, and it just doesn't stop. Something is happening here right now, and something is being prepared in the background. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I wish you a great day. We'll see each other in the next video.